All right, I want to welcome you to tonight's City Council meeting for Monday, January 27th, 2020. Can we have a roll call, please, Nicole?
Councilmember Biskin.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Mergen.
Here.
Councilmember Novitsky.
Here.
And Mayor Schmidt.
Here. And tonight's invocation is provided by Nathan Kirk from Greater Life Tabernacle. I didn't recognize him because it's unusual to see people in suits unless they're lawyers, so he's not a lawyer. Thank you.
I've been called a lot of things, but don't.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Start a fight here.
Well, thank you for the honor and the privilege that it is to be here. I do feel privileged to be able to open up this meeting in prayer. So with that, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for this time together, that you've gathered us here together today. Thank you for bringing all of us here safely. I pray tonight for this meeting that you would bless this meeting, bless the members of this council and those that are here in attendance. Bless the members of this great city and community that we're in. God, I pray that you would give wisdom and insight and discernment, not just now, but forward and onward for the direction of this city. God, I pray that as we dismiss from this meeting, that you would take us all home and to our destination safely today. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. If you are able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item, I'll read our mission statement. Our mission is to provide the highest quality public services. Services will be provided in a fair, respectful, and professional manner that effectively address changing citizen and community needs in a fiscally responsible manner. The next item is the approval of the agenda. We're going to add item 6B. Lorianne Mueller is here from the Columbia Heights School Board to update us on what's happening at the school district. Busy place. And some changes, too, coming. Thank you. But first, can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 6B?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskin, second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And then the first item under the proclamations, presentations, recognitions, announcements, and guests, Columbia Heights Police Department is doing a blood drive. And we have Becky Romanek from the Records Tech coming to tell us about this.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. So my name is Becky Romanek. I'm one of the records technicians at the police station. I'm here to let you know about our blood drive that's coming up. The police department and the support staff, so those of us at the front window, have teamed up together with the American Red Cross. And on Wednesday, February 26th, from 10 to 4, in the training room at the Public Safety Building, it'll be our Coffee with a Cop for the month of February. So we teamed up with the Red Cross. They're telling us that right now there's a very critical need for blood, and they're hoping to get a big turnout from this. A couple facts about blood donation. It only takes one person donating blood to save up to 3 lives. And every 2 seconds, somebody in the U.S. is in need of blood. So this is a really big deal. You know, the whole thing takes maybe 20 minutes if you've never given before. Get cookies and juice. I mean, who doesn't love that? And we'll have coffee there. Even if you're not donating blood, we hope that you still come by, you know, stop in, have a cup of coffee. I'm the one that's just helping out with registering. So if you have questions, I can get you registered even tonight. Just take your information. You can pick a time spot. Otherwise, I do have flyers. To take one, you can get a hold of me and register. You can get online and register. Otherwise, take a flyer and give it to somebody else, and let's fill those spots up. So, any questions?
Okay, so my question is there an age limit?
No,
Oh.
no age
Sorry.
limit. Yep. 16
Thought I
and
could
above.
get out of it, but-
Yes, no, 16 with a parent, otherwise 18 and above.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right,
All right, I'll be
Thank
here
you.
with
Thank you
flyers.
for doing this.
Thanks, you guys.
all right. Next is Lauren Mueller from Columbia Heights School Board.
Kelly resigned. He's retiring, Kathy.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me and adding me to the agenda. As Mayor Schmidt said, I'm Lorianne Mueller. I am a member of the Columbia Heights School Board, and I have the privilege of serving another year as a liaison from the school board to the city council. So I am, again, for 2020 now the liaison to the city of Columbia Heights. So I will be coming as often as I can to give you some updates on things that we have going on at Columbia Heights Public Schools. So a couple of things that we're back from break and right into the swing of things. This coming weekend, our Columbia Heights High School has their one-act plays. So that is Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. I believe those are taking place at Highland Elementary. We are still doing a little bit of moving stuff around as we are still doing some construction at our Performing Arts Center. Also, for any of our parents that may be watching on TV, conferences are starting. So February is really time that we start our parent-teacher conferences for the second part of the year. So starting the week of the 10th, we have elementary school conferences, followed by the middle school conferences. So really kind of the last 3 weeks in February are times to get out and meet teachers during conferences. Our high school conferences will be in March. On February 17th, there will be no school. That's a Monday in observance of President's Day. On February 20th, Columbia Academy will be holding their Academic Honors Night. This is a really great night to recognize the Columbia Academy students that have received honor roll recognition for the A and B honor roll during the first semester. So that's a really great night. So if parents will be invited to that if their student has made the honor roll. We also have our Columbia Academy musical coming up, and I don't know if any of you have been to our Columbia Academy musicals in the past, but these students really do a great job. So our middle school students will be putting on Dear Edwina. That is currently scheduled for February 21st and 22nd at 7 p.m. and February 23rd at 2 p.m. Those are currently scheduled to take place in the Performing Arts Center at the high school. Keep watching for potential date or location changes as we're just finishing up the construction of that location. And then our high school band concert is coming up on February 27th at 7 p.m. Currently, that's also scheduled in the Performing Arts Center. Our band room at the high school, which we again like to thank our community for their support and providing the funding to create that. That space is now open. So really excited to have the students moved into that space. So made possible by our community members, and then the Country Music Association for their donations, which allowed us to add some additional technology into that space, really providing a great band room experience for our students. So that's completed, and the students are in that space now for second semester. So, what we have going on.
What was the date of the high school band performance?
The high school band concert, February 27th, 7 p.m.
So, are you doing tours of the band room or not necessarily?
Not at this time. I think that there will be a scheduled kind of time for folks to come in and take a look at that, not during school hours while the students are learning. But yeah, so stay tuned for more. My thought is that there might be something once the
Everything's
gym
done.
stage and the Performing Arts Center is all completed.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
it's exciting.
Very excited, yes. Anybody else have any questions regarding this?
I have one.
Okay.
Is
Councilman Williams?
it true that Kathy Kelly is retiring in July?
Yes, that is correct. Superintendent Kelly
I
is
just want
retiring.
to double check it.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry to see that. She was a good superintendent.
Thank you.
Councilman Nervinsky?
What was the name of the play at the high school this weekend?
It's the one act plays, so there isn't, I don't know exactly which performances they're doing. Sometimes they do a couple.
Okay.
So just a group of students will do like a one act play.
Oh, nice, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Next item is our consent agenda. These items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted as part of the consent agenda by one motion. Items removed from consent agenda approval will be taken up as the next order of business. I was told that item E was going to be pulled, correct? All right. So with the exception of item E, could you, we have our acting city manager, Kevin Hansen, because Kelly is enjoying warm weather
Son.
and sun.
Son, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure, Mayor, members of the council. Item A is approved minutes of the city council meeting. That would be January 13th, 2020. Item B is authorization to seek bids for the 2020 sanitary sewer pipelining project. This is an annual program that we do in Public Works. In 2020, we're looking at lining about 5,500 lineal feet of sanitary sewer pipe. Item C is authorization to purchase a Ford F-350 regular cab with a snowplow, lift gate on the rear, and a backup camera. This was a 2020 budgeted item, and this would be paid or funded through a even split with our sewer and water departments. Item D is adopt resolution 2020-11, requesting MSAS funds for other local transportation uses. This is something that we've been doing since 1999, following the certification of our state aid system, where we can use state aid funds for other local uses. Item E has been removed. Item F is adopt resolution 2020-13, approving plans and specifications and ordering the ad for bid for Zone 4A street rehab, City Project 1802. And in Zone 4, this would be for 5th and 6th Streets, where we just held the public improvement hearing. Item G is adopt resolution 2020-14, approving the plans and specs and ordering the advertisement for bid for the Silver Lake Lift Station replacement, City Project 2008. This is part of our infrastructure in the utility division for our CIP program. And one of the biggest things with this too, it's time for the lift station to be replaced, but also it's to facilitate the very next item, which is the reconstruction of the boat launch down at Silver Lake. Item H is approve resolution 2020-15, approving the plans and specs and ordering advertisement for bid for the Silver Lake boat landing project, which is City Project 1912. So this would completely reconstruct the boat landing and bring it into an accessible state, not only for the boat landing, but also for access. And this is in part funded through a DNR grant. Item I is approve resolution 2020-16, approving a funding contract for the preparation for emerald ash borer and community forest from the Minnesota DNR. This is a 3-year grant with a total amount of $100,000 that our city forester went through the application process and was awarded the maximum grant amount. This is only for EAB or ash trees within the public forest, but it helps support not only the removal of ash trees, but also the replanting to help, stock our public forest. Item J is approval of the attached list of rental housing applications. Item K is approval of the business license applications. And L is the review and approval of the bills, and those bills totaling $1,211,971.96. Mayor?
Okay. So with the exception of item E, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and then could you go ahead and, you had some questions, Councilmember
I know this
Biskins,
was a
regarding
big
item
thing.
E?
Item E is about the parking lot that we're getting bids for behind the library, and I know this is a big thing with the library board, so I thought maybe we could go over why the library board and others were really wanting to have this additional parking space behind the library.
Sure, Mayor, members of the council. So what is before you tonight was just the authorization to seek bids on the library parking lot project. The area that we're talking about is due east of the existing library parking lot. So right now it sits there as a vacant piece of land. Currently, we've done some site grading in there. So in terms of the amount of work that's necessary to build a parking lot in this area, it's relatively minimal because the lot, the existing land is relatively flat. So what's being proposed is really to maximize the site for paving, some curb and gutter for drainage, and then really just to get as much parking spaces as we can in this area. And it would be built to a light parking lot standard, not a heavy parking lot standard, really just to facilitate passenger vehicles. The need for this, I think, is really being driven by a couple of things. One is during certain events and activities that may be happening at the library. Their existing parking lot, they do run out of space in that existing parking lot. It's not a daily event, but for certain programmed events or certain events that they may be having, they are short of parking in there. And I believe they have, I think it's either 48 or 49 spaces. So the additional lot would serve between 55 and 60 additional spaces. And I think it does provide some other opportunities just in this area, for off hours, if there was additional parking need in this area, that it could certainly supplement for that.
Just one quick question. I know we talked about it last year. Since the church, sometimes the church and the theater and the library are all busy and there's parking. And I remember walking across the sidewalk from the library over to the Methodist church, and a truck was waiting, just sitting there waiting. And as soon as I got off the sidewalk, he drove on the sidewalk. And are you still planning on putting posts? Because if we add more parking space back there, I can see when the theater has a really popular movie and the church is full, that they may drive again, use that little sidewalk for a road.
Right. Mayor, members of the council, it's our intent. There is a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and unfortunately, it does get used as a kind of through between what is the both the theater and the church parking lot area coming over into the library parking lot. So it is our intent to get both signage, some posts up there, so we don't have that happen anymore, because that can be dangerous.
Right.
Not intended for that, it's just a sidewalk.
Yeah. I know I'm very excited about it, and I know there's people at the library, they're very excited about the additional parking, so thank you, Kevin.
All right, anybody else have any comments or questions regarding this? Remember, this is just for the bid, this is not for the actual work. All right, then can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is a motion to waive the reading of resolution 2020, excuse me.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, could you read that one,
Okay.
please?
Move to waive the reading of Resolution 2020-12, there being ample copies available to the public.
That's still second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then-
Move to adopt Resolution Number 2020-12, approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bids for library parking lot construction, City Project 2006.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to public hearings. This is a first reading of ordinance 1659, an ordinance concerning access to multi-unit housing structures by United States Census Bureau employees. This is something that was discussed, and we seem to be lacking because the state didn't pass anything. So is KT coming? Okay. All right. KT is the head of our Complete Count Committee. She's not an employee of the Census Bureau.
I am
Just want to
not.
make sure.
Mayor and council members, thank you for your continued support. I just want to kind of reiterate that the importance of this ordinance request is that there's estimated to be about just under 4,500 people in Minnesota that will probably not self-report in the census. The bulk of those people tend to be renters, and a lot of that is impeded by the fact that census workers do not have, right now, have ready access to multi-unit buildings. And they're at the mercy of a management team to allow them to go in and connect with those individual households that have not reported. So this would alleviate part of that problem. It would give census workers the ability to go in. It does not allow them into the individual apartments or units, but it does give them access to the public areas so that they can knock on doors and get those real numbers for not only the state of Minnesota, but our community as well. And it all translates in the end to dollars and cents that come back to us through those numbers being calculated and bringing our tax dollars back into the community where we need to provide the services.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Go
I just
ahead,
was
Councilmember
wanting some
Biskins.
clarification on when I was reading 8.903, where it says census materials. Talked about employees granted Census Bureau employees granted access must be permitted to leave census materials in an orderly manner for residents at their doors. Is there a reason why it didn't mention that they could knock on their doors too, not just leave the materials? It wasn't clear to me, because the way I read it was like, well, that's not gonna help if we can't knock on the door, at least try to talk to people.
It's my understanding that they'll be able to knock on doors, but in the event they wouldn't answer the
Then you
door.
can leave 'em.
Then the census workers are gonna have the ability to leave material
Right.
and come back.
Yeah.
It will require that they make arrangements with the building management. They cannot just arbitrarily show up
Okay.
and go through the
Okay,
process.
well, that's good, because leaving materials isn't always as effective, so.
Correct.
okay. That's it, thank you.
Anybody else on the council have any questions or comments concerning this? Okay, this is a public hearing, so is there anybody from the public that would like to make any comments regarding the access to multi-unit buildings for census workers? This would be similar to campaign people who come in, somebody running for office. They have access to, they still have to make arrangements with the apartment dwelling to go ahead and knock on doors. And it's the same idea. You want,
One point that needs to be made is this is not all census workers for in between the 10-year period. This is only for the 10-year census that this would apply.
correct. Correct. And I remember reading that someplace. It's the fancy word for 10 years, and I can't remember, decennial. All right. Anybody from the public have any comments, questions regarding this? All right. Then can I have a motion to close the public hearing and waive the reading?
Move to close the public hearing and waive the reading of ordinance 1659. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Merjan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Then the second.
Move to set the second reading of ordinance 1659, being an ordinance amending Chapter 8 of the Columbia Heights City Code concerning access to multi-unit housing structures by United States Census Bureau employees for February 10th, 2020 at approximately 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Merjan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Just to know, if anybody has any comments further, that's why there are two readings. So if you decide between now and February 10th that you do have some questions, feel free to come back. All right, or call City Hall and leave them with us too. All right, moving on to items for consideration under 9A. Second reading of ordinance 1658 and ordinance modifying the animal ordinance. And Chief, were you gonna talk about this a little bit?
Sure, Mayor and
Sure,
members of the council. This is just second reading for the upcoming changes to the licensing. Basically, if you're just, I'll bring you back to the last meeting. Our plan is to no longer have a licensing program, but require dogs and cats to have identification that they have been vaccinated, and also contact information in the event we do pick up their domestic animals.
All right. Anybody on the council have any further questions or comments regarding this? Okay. Then can I get a motion to waive the reading?
Move to waive the reading of ordinance 1658 and the summary of ordinance 1658. There being ample copies available to the public.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Novinsky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We had some people that came in late. I don't know if anybody wanted to talk regarding this. Okay, all right. Then can I?
Is that the animal ordinance?
Yes.
I've got a question.
Okay, could you come forward and state your name, please?
My name is Dwayne Morrell. Is this in addition to what used to be dog license? Where they, people
This-
registered their dogs with the city and they got a license that was
Correct.
placed on
We
the
are
call?
not, it's in place of the license.
It's in place of it?
So we are not licensing.
Is this related to the microchip that gets inserted in the animal?
The dog could have, or animal could have a microchip, yes, but the reference is to something tagged, correct?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, there's nothing in the ordinance that talks about chipping, although most owners do chip their animals nowadays, but the ordinance will require documentation on their tag that the animal has been vaccinated and also owner contact information.
And most vets will give you a little tag, so it is quite common to get that tag to
But
hang on a
people
collar.
register the dog with the city?
No,
They don't?
no,
Not
only if the animal's picked up for any reason, that's when we would need that information. Let's say your dog or cat ran out of the door and you couldn't stop it. We've had animals like that. They just run out the door and, but, so they need that information so they can get the animal back to you safely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, can I get a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt ordinance 1658, being an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Article 1 of the Columbia Heights City Code relating to animals and elimination of dog and cat licenses, and direct staff to send a summary of the ordinance as presented for publication in the legal newspaper.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskins, second by Councilmember Novinsky. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to item 10, report of the city council. Councilmember Novinsky, do you want to start?
Yeah, I was able to attend the public meeting for the city hall at the library. Excuse me. It was pretty well attended. Parking seemed to be the big concern. But otherwise, it was just an informational meeting. But the parking with the Heights Theater and the church was the big question on what we could do to help that out.
Connie, you were also at that one. Did you want to add to anything? on
No,
that?
it was one of the things they did talk about, though, with the parking, even though they're going to be removing the ramp, and the church during services was using half a dozen to a dozen spaces. They are planning on, I believe, widening Gould and adding 22 parking spaces on the street that do not exist there today. So hopefully that'll help. And then with the additional parking behind the library, we're hoping to meet some of those needs and concerns that they had, because the ramp is now no longer going to be there once the development starts.
Go ahead. Did you have anything else, Nick?
No, that was it.
Councilmember Merschman.
I just have one thing. The Polar Plunge was a good turnout this year. There's a lot of people and everybody enjoyed it, so the fire department, Public Works, Lions Club, who else was?
Boosters.
Boosters were there. They did a fabulous job. It came out really better than last year, so I just want to tell them thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams.
Well, I don't have much to say, but I do want to thank the police department and all the work they do for these issues. We have drugs. We had a gentleman this last month pass out in our store, and we locked the door in the washroom, and the police were there and hauled him away in an ambulance. But it was sad to see this happening in our city. And I'm not sure where they're coming from. They come to our store for some reason and go to the washroom and lock the door and take their drugs and then pass out. It's sad. It's just sad. They finally had to call the ambulance. The guy couldn't walk at first. The police did a nice job getting him out of the washroom and into a chair so he could sit. But we have this happening once a month, it seems like. And the police department they're doing a tremendous job getting it done, but it's just not happening. They keep doing it. And people want to die, I guess. Oh, sorry to see Kobe Bryant and his daughter get killed in that helicopter crash yesterday. I was shocked. And that Kobe was a great fan of mine because he was a superstar basketball player. And, you know, he didn't live his life in leisure after he was done playing because he's gone now. Him and his daughter, 13 years old. Sad.
Councilmember Biskins.
I attended the school board meeting, and it was very interesting. I got to hear updates, or each department, there was a principal from, I believe, Valley View, and then there was the curriculum group that came up. They set their goals, and as part of the meeting, they presented where they're at with their goals, if they've met them or if they're still working on some. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought maybe it's something I had mentioned to the city manager, maybe with our new goal-setting session that's coming up in the next month or two, that maybe it's something we could do at our city council meetings where department staff could come and this is where we were, this is where we're at now, and this is where we're hoping to go to give people more information from our goal-setting sessions. So, because we've been doing really well from the last goal-setting session, so I think it'd be a good thing for folks to know. I also attended the 3989 Lattice building site review with the neighborhood. And I also attended the review, on the next day there was a review of the city hall layout with city staff. I attended the fire and ice plunge. I wasn't able to jump this year. Next year I'm hoping to jump, but it was very well attended. It was a lot of fun. Lots of smiles and laughter, and very well set up. And another thing, I haven't talked about this for a while, but I again would like to encourage residents to sign up for our organic composting program. Last month, our city residents, just the residents alone, not including businesses, schools, or churches, put 1,024,000 pounds of trash in the landfill. And I would love to see us get that number down. So if you could, take time to call Public Works and sign up for it. It's a great program. 30 to 40% of our trash that goes into the landfill is organic matter from our leftovers and things that we haven't eaten from our refrigerators. And it's really important because I don't know if folks saw the news article in this Star Tribune the other day. It was about the ash trees, the ash borer situation where they're cutting the trees down, and they were worried about what they're going to do with the trees that they cut down, because normally they take them to the incinerator in St. Paul. And in the next 3 years, they're worried Xcel probably will not renew their contract with this incinerator because wind power and solar panels are becoming cheaper, and the incinerators are more expensive to run, and they may not have that incinerator to not only burn up their trees, but also burn up the garbage that comes from there. So, and if that's true in the future, to have incinerators to burn our garbage may not be an option because of cost. So I think it's really important that we keep in mind what we use, how we use it, and where it ends up. So if we can recycle as much as possible, use the organic composting, that's less stuff that goes into the landfill, and it does reduce the cost to the city as far as dumping that trash by the tonnage. So again, I strongly encourage you. It's a great program. It's easy. It doesn't smell. It's a great program. Thank you.
All right. I was able to stop by the Fire and Ice Plunge in between other meetings and had a great time. Boosters does a great job with the food, and just a fun event. Got to see some people dress up in amazing costumes, and I was told by Dave from SECA that not as many people signed up pre-signed up. I guess they were just kind of being cautious about weather this year, but they had plenty of people show up and just surprise us, and they had a great time. It was warm enough that it wasn't sloppy wet, but it still was cold. So, and I'm more than willing to pay for somebody else to jump. That's I did get a chance to meet with state auditor and staff on January 24th with the Main Street listening session. City officials and staff were invited from all around the metro area, were invited to come attend. I was surprised I was the only elected official there other than couple county commissioner members. So they're doing these listening sessions all around the city and around the Minnesota, different areas. This was the only one they were doing in the Twin Cities at this time, trying to get an idea why numbers are fluctuating. I mean, auditors obviously are working with numbers, so they're trying to get an idea how they can help cities and why our numbers are fluctuating. And one thing that came up in every single board meeting and outside meeting I went to this month was of affordable housing. Everybody talked about affordable housing, and out of the League of Minnesota Cities Board meeting, the state auditors meeting, and meeting with legislatures on Saturday, Carolyn Lane and Mary Kudish-Bodim, everybody brought up affordable housing. So it is a number one topic, and it is going to affect our numbers, monetary-wise, how we are reacting to this. The other thing that came up was PTSD. That's another item that is a hot topic, and Chief Austin knows this too. It is discussed a lot, and how we can deal with that, and how we can help our public safety officials that are affected by this. And it is going to affect our insurance numbers. It's going to affect everything as we go through the next few years. Also got a chance to, I was going to mention that at yesterday's meeting, at Saturday's meeting with Carolyn Lane and Mary Kudish-Bodim, they talked about legalizing marijuana. That is a discussion that they are talking intensely at the legislative end, and so make sure you get your opinions to our elected officials. They are not anticipating it to pass this year, but they are discussing it very, very highly. So I know we've discussed it as Chief of Police. We've discussed it. We've discussed some things from Colorado. So get your ideas, get your thoughts to your elected officials so that they know what you want, what you are desiring. And they are doing several sessions, so check their schedule. I know they're doing one tonight, which obviously I can't make, but there's another one coming up on Wednesday, I think, and check Mary's schedule. She has it on her list, so if you are interested. Next item is we have our acting city manager, Kevin Hansen.
Mayor, members of the council, I just have a couple of things. So next Monday, there's one change in the meetings, but we have 3 meetings that evening. Normally, the EDA is at 6, but because of a public improvement hearing, the EDA has been shifted to 5:30, just to make sure that you're aware of that. And then at 6 p.m., we have a public improvement hearing for another project. And then, of course, we have our work session at 7 for next Monday, February 3rd. We have our City Expo coming up, and I think just from the activity that you've seen over the last couple of meetings, I think one of the things we're going to be talking to folks about is development happening here in Columbia Heights, and then also improvement projects happening here in Columbia Heights. There's quite a lot going on. That'll be on February 8th, and that's being held at the City Library Community Room from 11 till 1. And then the last thing I have is, you may have noticed there have been some reports on some of the local news channels about potholes, and that is something that we're also out doing, is filling potholes. You don't often talk or hear about that in January, but as time and weather allow, that's something that we'll get out and do some temporary patching of those potholes. So we're out right now addressing that, and we will as long as the weather cooperates. Mayor?
So if we have some that are really bad, let you know?
There's 2 ways for anybody to get that information to Public Works. That's where we appreciate it coming in. One is just call Public Works, and that's the general 3700 number. And the other one, if you go to our website, they've got Report a Problem, and one of them is a pull down that says Report a Pothole. So either one of those work great for us.
Thank you. Report of the city attorney.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. The next item is a community forum. At this time, individuals may address the city council about any item not included on the regular agenda. Speakers are requested to come to the podium, sign their name and address on the form for the council secretary's record. Make sure you give it to Nicole and limit their comments to 5 minutes. Individuals are asked to state their name for the record at the podium. The city council will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if needed, request staff to follow up or direct the matter to be added to an upcoming agenda. Generally, the city council will not take official action on items raised at the community forum at the meeting in which they are raised. Nicole, you had?
I just have one name right now, Dwayne Morrell.
Okay.
Mayor and members of the council, how fast is too fast on Reservoir Boulevard? If, I was trying to imitate the impeachment managers, and but I can't do it.
Please don't.
If delivery trucks can be seen traveling 50 to 60 miles an hour, is that too fast? If school buses and city buses are doing 45 to 60, is that too fast? If personal vehicles are traveling 45 to 70 miles an hour, is that too fast? An example I want to give you is there was a woman in the neighborhood pushing her 2 children in a buggy on the west side of Reservoir. And I was cutting the grass, I was near the curb, and neither of us caught sight of this vehicle that had to be traveling above 70 miles an hour. She got scared. I've never seen her again. And I don't blame her, because it's too dangerous. So if multi-axle vehicles are traveling 50 to 60 miles an hour, typically they're the short-haul vehicles from the Sioux line. Apparently they use Reservoir as a shortcut when traffic on the freeways is slow, or they've just become accustomed to it. Now, I remember when no trucks were allowed on Reservoir between 40th and 37th. That sign is gone now. So apparently something has changed along the way. But it's just a general disregard. And I can tell their speeds because the windows start rattling and the walls vibrate. And I know that's happening. And I don't know if any of you have traveled Reservoir recently, but we have maybe 300 or 400 cracks in the new paving area that have been tar filled, and that sets a vibration from the vehicle's tires. And when those 18-wheelers go by and they're hitting all those cracks, that vibrates. It almost ends up a tremor, just like a tremor. And I've put up with it for a long time, but it's just getting to be too much. And I saw the Columbia Heights Police put the speed indicator machine on 42nd, and someone threw eggs at it and blocked the view of the mileage. So apparently that's, you got some animosity on the people who've been frequently driving there because they don't want anyone to interfere with their speed. I think we need more hands-on regulation. And if, I've seen the police cars drive by, but if they do a 30-second drive-by, that's not fast enough, because I've noticed that a lot of times there are no cars around them. One time, the police car went from McLeod and was between 41st and 40th. And here were 2 cars traveling about 50 miles an hour separated by 1 car length that passed 42nd. And we don't see anyone. I don't see anyone. And I've been on Reservoir since Reservoir was cobblestones and trolley tracks, which is a long time. And it's gotten outrageous. And I think something needs to be done. I would suggest a greater police presence with speed traps rather than your speed indicator signs, because that one incident there shows there's a disregard for them. You fix that plate, that plexiglass cover, and someone may do the same thing. right after it. So you're continually fixing that, and they're kind of showing you the disregard they have for your process or your orderly process. You could do speed bumps, not a very attractive thing, or you could put a stop sign at 42nd, make it a four-way stop sign. Because I've noticed, and I pay attention to this, almost every single car that's speeding at 42nd stops at 40th. So they will stop for a stop sign, but when there are no stop signs, it's freeway. And if you notice, I'm talking about freeway speeds. And Reservoir is clearly marked 30 miles an hour. It's a residential section, unless you want to create a commercial, zoning commercial. So that's something entirely different, but we need more effective enforcement. And for a four-way stop at 42nd, you have two precedents that I can remember. One is 44th and Arthur. That used to be a two-way stop for the side streets. And I remember the police cars sitting on the north side waiting for people to drive through the new stop sign. And I remember a red flashing light to draw the attention to it. The other is 40th and Jackson. 40th and Jackson, how many more signs can you put on that intersection? I think it's got 4 each way with flashing lights and a little stop guy in the center of the intersection. So I would, I'm trying to impeach you to do something because the speeds and the condition of Reservoir is not very good, and the speeds are getting too fast, and it's getting dangerous, and I don't want to have the city do something after there's a tragedy. That's too late. And that's not sort of consistent with what I did. If you remember my Danger in the Sky, where the 2 planes were kind of doing dogfighting maneuvers, you need to take some action and ensure that the speeds get slowed down. And I believe that stop sign would be the most effective one. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dwayne. We have somebody else then?
Yes, Lewis, I can't see if it's Leary or Levy. Levy, yes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council, Madam Mayor. I'm here in response to a letter I received a while back last month on a rental dwelling revocation, and I was wondering what was the City Council's plan going forward with this revoking of a dwelling, I'm sorry, in lieu of violations.
I am not, I don't know which property it is, and
Madam
Could you help
Mayor and council members, we follow a procedure. I don't know where that procedure is at. I don't know what property we're talking about, but this gentleman could certainly contact the fire department, talk to Deputy Chief O'Brien. He'd be able to tell him where it's at in the process.
okay.
All right.
Is his name on the letter, O'Brien?
No, it just has the property manager's name on there and the,
There should be a phone number to contact, though, in the letter as to who you should,
oh, okay, yes, there is. There
okay.
is, there is.
That would be a good idea then.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay. No one else then? Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Biskin, second by Councilmember Bergen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.